I just internally love to help people. And so when people are like pissed off at me, it didn't feel very good. Because I was like, but we're trying to help you.
Correct me if I'm wrong, because I want to give kind of a dumbed down explanation for people who've never even thought about licensing. Basically, you have stuff that's working for your own school, and
So we take all the IP, the offers, the sales sheets, the sales processes, the nurture. Like, yeah, how do I get access to your stuff? And then we said, oh, it's in our licensing service program. We're going to make you pretty good money.
all right, beautiful, sexy motherfuckers. Welcome back to another exciting edition here. I have Rebekah Duron, and we're going to be talking about something that I think is super exciting. She is the founder of the $1 Million Dojo. She has her own karate school, and then she also has an agency for that. But what's different is the big piece we're going to be talking about is she does not do a traditional lead generation, funnels, sales calls, all the things that you guys have probably heard a million times before. But Rebekah is wildly cool and successful on the licensing model. So firstly, Rebekah, let's get the obligatory hellos out of the way.
Hey guys, Frankie's super awesome. Love to be here with y'all. I've been in this group for a second and so many good things happening. Just to like make sure we get it right here, Frankie, is I know everyone thinks of me like the karate kid or like the karate girl, but I actually own a jujitsu school. So like in the whole martial arts space, if you tell a jujitsu person that they do karate, I mean, of course I don't get offended, but they're like, oh my God, jujitsu is so much cooler than karate. So like, I just think it's funny and, letting you know.
Well, she just, there you go. Ice broken. She's clearly let us know she's cooler than the rest of us. We knew that.
Cooler, yeah.
Um,
We do help karate schools as well. I love them. They're great people.
so let's talk your own transition into this licensing model. Because before, like you had a time period where you were doing the traditional agency, pulling your hair out most likely.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and as many of us can attest to, it's never good enough, fast enough, quick enough, cheap enough for clients. And you decided to make that switch to the licensing model. So I wonder if you could talk a little bit about like what inspired that change, kind of, what that looks like now.
Well, a few things inspired that change. The time and dedication and the need where businesses think that like you have to be like their savior, like you're going to be the savior of their business, and the stress and the team load that required and the time away from my husband and my kids was just overwhelming. And I was just like, man, I mean, we're making some decent money here, but the load of it was way too much and the churn was happening too much. So, I just internally love to help people. And so when people are like pissed off at me, it didn't feel very good. Because I was like, but we're trying to help you. Like we're doing our darndest to help you, and you're yelling at us, and that's not nice. So it didn't feel very good. And one day I had just a coming to Jesus. I sat down with a friend and laid it all on him. He's a marketer. And he said, Rebekah, what if you just share the things? And I was like, share the things? Why would we share the things? Us as marketers have to like protect all of our stuff because people are always trying to steal it anyways, right? And so that idea was just not even in my frame of mind. And then I thought about it for a second and we mulled it over. And that's kind of how we went from crazy psycho done for you agency into a peaceful, very lucrative, very low energy, time saver licensing program.
Yeah, and so correct me if I'm wrong, because I want to give kind of a dumbed down explanation for people who've never even thought about licensing. Basically, you have stuff that's working for your own school, and for different reasons, you don't want to be at 30, 40, 50 location like me. You have too many kids and you want to hang out with them for whatever reason. So, it didn't make sense for you to like, build a 40 school franchise empire kind of situation. And so a lot of your model is just taking the stuff that's working for you, the intellectual property, the specific ads, the landing pages, the funnels, if you will, and setting those up so anybody can kind of copy and paste those and swipe those into their business so that, whatever benefits you're getting, if you're filling a weekend workshop, they can fill a weekend workshop kind of thing, right?
Absolutely. So we take all the IP, the offers, the sales sheets, the sales processes, the nurture, everything, and we share all of our stuff. So anyone in our licensing program, anything that I create and use, they have 100% access to when they are in our licensing program. So this isn't a one-time license where they just get it for life. If they're in the licensing program, they get access. And if they leave, well, we shut off access in a loving way.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's also set up like, the Holy Grail, like why so many people go after the retainer model is to have that like monthly kind of recurring revenue base. I wonder if you could talk to, firstly, that you have that monthly recurring revenue base through this, and then also that it actually has positively benefited your churn, because instead of being this kind of whipping boy, whipping girl, like, when are ads going to make us millionaires? Now it's more on the onus of them to take responsibility and actually get those things implemented, and they're staying and paying. That's what I want to hear about, that part right there.
Yeah. Yeah. The staying and paying part is really, really good. In fact, like we just don't have a client that leaves less than 12 months. And most of the time it's 2 years, 3 years. I had a message in the Slack today and I was like, hey guys, thinking about a February get together, who's down? And everyone was like, down, 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 down. I was like, but like, do you really want more of me? I don't know. So yeah, they love us and we love them. And that's because we really focus on building a partnership with them. So number one, I am not the savior of your business. I'm not the owner of your business. I don't pay the bills. I don't pay the taxes. So don't put me in that position. But can I help partner with you and grow by sharing all of my stuff? Absolutely. And so you're right. It puts the onus on them to take these things and put them into action instead of me and my team having to be your lead generator, your nurturer, your salesperson. And then if it doesn't work at the end of the month, well, I paid you this money and you didn't give me anything. We don't even bother with that type of process. It's just like, here's the things, but you have to make it work. Like you have the things, but the things don't work unless you actually put them into action. And we support them. Our support team is super awesome. We'll help them along the way. But they have responsibility in this.
Yeah, I wonder if you could talk about that, because we've had some conversations privately where the big challenge for that is obviously, since the onus is on them to implement it, is that you have to kind of focus on making it like stupid, retarded, simple, that like basically like a highly trained monkey could go and implement this in their business. And I know you're using some tools like Go High Level so that they can kind of copy and paste and hex to copy and paste, like, here's Rebekah's working ad, let's put that into your ad account and just change, the name of but I wonder if you could speak to like the challenges of just the implementation side of making it so that like, basically anybody could do it.
So our very first iteration of this licensing program, because it was a guinea pig, right? It was like, can this work was the question. And so we sent out an offer. We had 10 people raise their hands. They all said yes. We brought them into a group. And way back when I was like, how do we just make this so simple? Like we didn't have high level at that time. We didn't have all the fancy stuff that we do now. And so we basically used Basecamp. Have you ever heard of it? It's kind of like an Asana.
It's a project manager. There's,
project,
click exactly. Out Monday, there's lots of them.
Yeah. And so we had like 3 different folders and we uploaded these PDFs and a couple videos and we were like, okay, see what you guys can do with this. And like a week later, 2 weeks later, they were like, oh my God, it's working. And we were like, oh, okay. So it didn't have to be this complicated bullshit. I can curse on the show, right?
Please do. Because if you're not saying bullshit, then
okay. Where it's just like way too many things in like our complicated marketer minds of, funnels and SEO and tags and keywords and blah, blah, blah. We didn't want to do that. We just wanted to get like the simplest path to more money for them. And when we did that, my question always is like, can a kindergartner do this? I have a nephew, Cal, and he's cute and smart. He's 6. He's as smart as he can be for 6. But like, I need Cal to be able to come in here and put these things to work. And if he can't do it, then it's too much. And we do not release it to our licensing partners.
Yeah, I wonder if you could just speak a little bit to the journey of that transition, because obviously you did it. It was guinea pig. You probably weren't like super confident first go around that would even work. You weren't sure how people would take it. And there's part of you that like, I don't know your pricing, but like, let's just say it's, 2000 a month or whatever. It doesn't really
Yeah.
matter the number that nobody would pay for $2,000 a month or whatever the amount for, like a licensing deal. Like they would only pay if you're actually doing the work and grinding it out. As you mentioned, being the savior. I wonder if you could talk a little bit about the journey and kind of some of those mental barriers you kind of had to break through of thinking like nobody would ever
Yeah.
pay me for licensing, and to find out it's actually even more in demand in some ways than
Yeah.
traditional agency where you're selling kind of lead generation in a box.
Yeah. You know, business owners just don't trust agencies. I think that's a huge part of it, right? And so since they don't trust them, everything is your fault or your problem, or you're the one that's causing it, or you're not managing it, or you're wasting my money, and all of those things come into play. And so when we started to see it work, my biggest question always is like, okay, this ideal person that I want in licensing, who isn't a pain in my ass, who isn't pinging us every 24/7, complaining about this or that, the ones that are just easy, using it, building, growing, doubling, tripling their income. That's who I want in here. And so since I paid really close attention to like, is this the right person for this model? If they weren't, we asked them to leave really fast. And I just had to stay, as hard as it was, we had to stay really dedicated to that idea and principle of like, we're only looking for the right people for this licensing program. But then what happened is we saw like people wanted this shit, because like they didn't have to go be the creator in local businesses. Since I've owned one since I was 20, the thing about us funny folks is like, we don't want to be the marketer, we don't want to be the creator, we don't want to be the salesperson. I'm a little bit of an anomaly because I like those things, but most business owners just want to do what they want to do. They want to cook, or they want to teach jujitsu, or they want to teach karate. That's all they want to do. So when we said, hey, we'll take that time space and we'll eliminate it for you by just letting you use our stuff, they were just like mind blown. And they were like, yeah, how do I get access to your stuff? And then we said, oh, it's in our licensing service program. We're going to make you pretty good money. We'll help you build out this model. We'll help you maintain this model. We'll help, if there's training that your people need, we'll put them into our training center. And yeah, it worked pretty darn well.
Yeah, I love it. And it's such a different thing from how everybody else thinks about it, where a lot of times when you do the traditional kind of lead generation, like you end up working for the client, where they like, whether they say it formally or not, like it's seen as like a boss kind of employee relationship, like you're an extension of me, as where a licensing thing is more like they're buying your stuff and it's the stuff they want, so it's not even really you work for them at all in the first place. And I imagine that changes the dynamic pretty substantially from that kind of boss underling relationship to more like and then as well, as you mentioned, like they're still responsible for actually like getting it put out there. So like they have to own that process. Like, we've all probably, anybody who's done lead generation has had the experience of generating leads for a client who doesn't answer the phone, doesn't pick it up, and it's always your fault, like that they're that the leads don't close, as were in your case. Like, since they have to own that process, like they have to actually like take ownership of the fact that like, hey, we're too slow on the phone, or we need to do something about this sales process and things like that. And I imagine that's probably a nice little side effect of doing it this way.
Oh, 100%, 100%. And like step one out the door, like this is the first thing that we do for any oncoming new partner, is we do what we call a create more cash campaign. And so we take everything that they have from their current customer list, their past list, and an old leads list, and we send out campaigns to each of these lists. So it's the thing, right? It's the mechanism, the campaign that's kind of like doing the work for me and for them. And we just use their list. And then on average, we'll bring in like 25 to 30K just cash in their pocket. And they're like, holy crap, how did that happen? Because they've never done that before in their business. And so when they see that little mechanism do the work for them, it's like they're sold. They're not leaving.
Yeah, and there's a real magic to engineering a quick win for people like that. I wonder if you could speak to just like how you how you come up with the quick win, and maybe like kind of like what your methodology is, because I think other people could do something similar, but I'm sure you're going to use some Travis close to the whole metaphor kind of.
Yeah, I mean, like lists are so they're God-given when we have them, right? There's these resources that usually have a lot of funds in them that we don't pull out enough of. And so they don't even understand that like that is available to them. And so we just come in there, we use these lists, and they're like, oh my gosh, this is a whole new world that has been opened to them. And it's just not difficult. And the reason we started doing it this way is because we'll do campaigns like Oktoberfest. We had October, we Black Friday this month. So our clients are constantly using our campaigns to create revenue and new customers with. But I don't know if you have ever, but I have actually paid another agency way back in the day to run my ad campaigns for MDD.
Yeah.
And I was paying a $10,000 retainer a month. And I was giving, $30,000 in ad spend average, sometimes a little bit higher, sometimes a little bit lower. And, at any business owner, you feel that like chunk of change go out of your pocket, and you're like, well, but you're building your list and you're nurturing these leads, and the flow will come back eventually. And so I just said, well, how do we take all that risk away from them? How do we say, hey, you're coming in this, but like our first step is for me to make you a whole lot of money, instead of just me take all of your money that you may not even have at that moment. And that was it's a huge changer in our initial relationship, when they see that like we want them to make money. We want them to make a lot of money. And they're like, oh, she just doesn't want all of my money. I'm like, no, we'll get there. In a loving way. But yeah.
Yeah, that's huge, being a profit source rather than an expense source. And like, like if you're doing it right over a long enough period of time, you'll still be a profit source, but like doing that right away just makes all of the math work. I know you got to run because you got as many kids plus one as I do, but I wonder, just for folks who are interested, I'll probably put a link to your group, but is there anywhere else that people should check out? How do we find out more about Rebekah Duron?
Well, if you want to learn about my kids and our farm, I'm on Facebook and Instagram. But I don't actually have too many spaces. We have a website, milliondollardojo.com. We're there. I don't have too many spaces that talk about my licensing altogether, but ask me questions below, DM me. I'm happy to share anything that could help you, because this was a 100% game changer, not just for business. I mean, like we're way more successful now, and not just in revenue, but in time and energy and all the space that we have to fill and how we help people. It's just a win-win all around. So if you're tired of the done for you grind, I highly recommend checking out this model.
Okay. You're awesome. And we'll, like she said, we'll answer some questions below. Appreciate you guys.
Yeah. Awesome.
Hey guys, if you like this video, you'll probably also like our free Facebook group, Beyond Agency Profits, Agency Lifestyle Design. You can get free copies of the book inside here. I look ridiculous. We're doing weekly Q&As, giving answers to all your questions. Some of the best, smartest, brightest people. We've got lots of industry leaders doing 7, 8 figures and beyond. It's a literal who's who of the brightest agency owners that I know, as well as lots of tips on scaling and stuff, books that work. So if you're not already part of it, you're going to want to be part of it. So make sure to click the link. I put it in the description of the video, as well as in the pinned top comment below. So just scroll down and you can join, and it's totally free.